Welcome to Biology Made Easy. Now let's look at the difference between resolution and magnification. Resolution is the smallest distance between two objects that the objects can be distinguished as separate points, two separate points. Magnification is how much large the organism or the specimen is. All right? Now let's look at the differences between resolution and magnification. Resolution stays the same all the time. The distance between 2 points, where the 2 points can be recognized as separate points, A and B are separate. They stay all the time. Magnification changes. Structures can be increased in size, increase in size, increase in size, but the resolution stays the same. The distance between the objects stays the same. So resolution stays the same, magnification can increase. But magnification can increase, but the object will become blurred. As you magnify an object, it becomes blurred. But the resolution stays the same. The distance between 2 points, that the points can be recognized as separate points, stays the same. Good. So let's look at the differences between the optical microscope and the electron microscope as far as resolution is concerned. In optical microscope, let's say it is 20. All right? Electron microscope, resolution between these 2 points is 1. It means that in electron microscope, structures that are very close to each other can be recognized as different points. But the optical microscope, you can't recognize them. So resolution in electron microscope is greater, much, much greater in electron microscope than in optical microscope. Resolution in electron microscope is 0.5 nanometers. 0.5 nanometers. That's the resolution in electron microscope. Resolution in optical microscope is 200 nanometers. It means to recognize these 2 points as separate points is wide. You can't see them. They look as one. When you are using optical microscope, they will look as one. But when you are using electron microscope, you will see them as 2 separate points because the resolution is high. So that is the difference between resolution between electron microscope and optical microscope. Good. Now let us discuss comparing electron microscopes and optical microscopes. So electron microscopes, all right, uses radiation instead of light. Optical microscope uses light. Electron microscope uses radiation, and then it uses electromagnets as lenses. Optical microscopes uses what? Convex lenses. Well, in electron microscope, a beam of electrons pass through a vacuum and then through the electromagnets to focus electrons through the specimen. Electron microscope can magnify living things up to 250 times. All right? Let's look at advantages of electron microscope. One, it has high resolution and high magnification. As you can see, they are from electron microscope. The detailed structures of cells, organelles, bacteria, etc. is not from optical microscope, it's from electron microscope. Now, let's look at the disadvantages of electron microscope. Specimen must be dead before it can be viewed through a vacuum. And the processes that the specimen goes through, the specimen is completely dead. It is also expensive and time-consuming to prepare the specimen for viewing. And then preservation and staining techniques can damage the structure of the specimen a bit. All right? Now, advantages of light microscopes over electron microscope. Light microscopes gives a better overall view of cells and tissues. A better overall, as you can see. The electron microscope focuses on few but very detailed. Then the cells and tissues are usually living. That is light microscope. It is also quicker and easier to prepare. So that is for comparison between electron and light microscope. Let's look at our next topic. It's on oil immersion and magnification. Now let's look at oil immersion and microscope work. Oil immersion is simply putting a special type of oil on a microscope slide so that you can use the high power lens to look at the specimen very clearly. All right? So just to have a very clear view of the specimen under high power. So this is a prepared slide we have. We want to look at this slide. So we fix our objective in line with the eyepiece. You heard a click. We look at this specimen under low power. All right. Now we have to look at the specimen under high power. So with the revolving nose piece, we turn the specimen into high power. We hear a click. Good. So high power, you only use the fine adjustment to look at the high power image well. Very neat image down there. Good. Now this image is under high power. We now want to use oil immersion to look at the image very, very well. All that we need to do is to turn from high power back to low power. And then take off the high power lens that we used. Take it off and fix in its place the oil immersion objective lens. So this is the oil immersion objective lens. Fix. Then we take the specimen off the stage, and if we have oil immersion oil, let's see, this is oil immersion oil, we put some on the cover slip, put back the specimen, and now move the oil immersion objective onto the slide and use the fine adjustment to look at your specimen. Very neat. That is oil immersion work and high power, so that you see the specimen very clearly. Neat, isn't it? Well, you have questions to solve. You know, we are going to take our slide off. You take off. Take this. Now we clean off our slide with a neat, soft tissue. We clean off the oil from our slide. Don't mess up the slide. And put back our slide. Now, we take off the oil immersion objective lens and we fix back our normal objective lens. Good. Now we want to go on to another topic, how to measure lengths of structures under the microscope. All right, and that is micrometry. That is measuring lengths of structures under the microscope, micrometry. You have structures, cells or structures you are seeing. You want to find out the length of this structure you are seeing under the microscope. How do you measure the length of this structure? Well, some microscopes now have inbuilt calibrators, all right? But most microscopes, you have to calibrate the eyepiece. So, there are two instruments that we can use to calibrate our microscope to measure the length, all right? And the two instruments, one is called the eyepiece graticle, and the other one is called the stage micrometer. The eyepiece graticle or the eyepiece micrometer is in the eyepiece lens. So, it's a piece. It has markings on it. We are talking about meters, so things that measure. So the eyepiece graticle is in the eyepiece lens of the microscope. This one is inbuilt in this eyepiece. So if you were close enough to look, you can see there's a scale like this in this eyepiece. All right? Good. So, I fit this one in here. Okay? And then there's another piece called the stage. This is the stage micrometer. That is also a scale. This scale is on the slide, microscope slide. There's a scale on it. And this scale tells us that one division, 1 df, 1 dv, one division is 0.01 millimeter. Yes, so the eyepiece micrometer has units on it, but it's graduated 100 units, but not to scale. It's not calibrated. All right? It needs to be calibrated. The stage micrometer has these units on it. It is calibrated. The calibration is written on it. You see, one division is 0.01 millimeter on the scale. All right? So that is the stage micrometer. Now, the stage micrometer is used to calibrate the eyepiece micrometer. All right? So, the stage micrometer is put on the microscope stage, and then looking through the eyepiece, turn the eyepiece to align the eyepiece divisions with the micrometer, stage micrometer divisions. So here is the eyepiece units aligned with the micrometer, stage micrometer divisions. So as you can see, when aligned, you can see that 30 units of the eyepiece is aligned with 0.01 millimeter of the stage micrometer. That is how the alignment is. So 30 units of eyepiece micrometer aligns with 0.01 millimeter of stage micrometer. These are hypothetical figures, all right? It therefore means that if 30 units of eyepiece micrometer is 0.01 millimeter equivalent, if 30 units of eyepiece micrometer is equivalent to 0.01 millimeter, 1 unit eyepiece micrometer is therefore this, all right? Division, you have 0.00033 millimeter, all right? So the eyepiece, your eyepiece lens has been calibrated. The eyepiece micrometer has been calibrated. So the eyepiece can then be used to measure your specimen, any specimen you want to measure with that objective piece. So we remove the stage micrometer from the microscope and put on a specimen, all right, slide with the specimen on it. And if the specimen we have put on shows these cells, and we want to measure the length of cell A, let's say this is cell A. Cell A shows that our eyepiece micrometer shows that cell A lies between 20 to 30 units. All right, so cell A is 10 units. Cell A is 10 units of eyepiece. All right, but we have realized, calculated from here, that 1 unit of eyepiece is 0.0033 millimeter. So therefore, 10 units of eyepiece of cell A becomes 10 times 0.0033 millimeter, which is 0.0033 millimeter. So this is the length of this cell. All right? Good. Now, having known the length of this cell, we can calculate the magnification of this cell. If this cell is drawn, if you decide to draw the cell, and you draw the cell or a picture of the cell, that is a micrograph, all right, of the cell, and you want to find out how much is this cell that I've drawn, or how much is this cell in this photo magnified. This is how we are going to do it. You know, magnification is, the formula for magnification is length of drawing or photo or image divided by the real length of the object. So we draw a cell, the cell is 3 centimeters, which means 30 millimeters, all right? So length of our drawing or the photo of the cell is 30 millimeters. The real length of the object we found here, the real length is 0.0033 millimeters. So that's the real length. We divide and we get times 9,000 plus. So this cell we have drawn is magnified 9,000 times. It's magnified 9,000 times. So when you are looking at a tiny cell under a microscope, you can find the length of the cell, the real length of the cell, by this method. And having known that, you can find the magnification of the cell that you've drawn or that is in the picture. Neat. We've gone a whole length today, isn't it? We have to end here. For your homework, practice measuring length of objects or structures with microscopes. So you have to learn how to calibrate your eyepiece and use it to measure length of structures on prepared slides of your own or slides, that permanent slides that you have. So, well done for coming along or being along with me. Have a good day. So we meet in our next lesson to look at scientific method, how scientists work. Bye-bye.